Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Design Meetup 2.0, powered by Idea of Kerala and co sponsored by Experion Technologies. Over the past few years, in the field of UX, has gained a lot of traction, especially in the design and technology industry. There has been a sudden explosion of opportunities for UX designers in the job market. It is common for people to transition into UX design from different career paths. Today, our speaker will talking about the myths and strategies in the growing UX career field. Coming to our speaker, he is certified CUA by Human Factors International, and he is a strong user advocate in a world dominated by codes and ROIs. Over the years, he gained an experience in digital media, and his fierce passion for simplicity and commitment to making technology work for people have helped business to save cost and increase revenue by improving the market acceptance. With 19 plus years of experience as a UX consultant, UX mentor, UX course creator, and speaker, I would like to introduce Shiva Prasad Palyak, founder of ScreenFlows.com, to share some valuable insights on myths and strategies of growing UX career. For the ease of better experience, we have muted the audience mic during the session. Please put your questions in the chat window. Although we have an exclusive Q&A session after the webinar where the audience can interact and discuss. A recorded version of this webinar will be available in YouTube. For those who are just joining us, welcome to Myths and Strategies of Growing UX Career by Shivaprasad Palyat. Over to you.
Thank you. So thank you, Jinsen, Vandana, and Grima for the great introduction and this opportunity to speak to you once again. I think I'm audible for everyone. Am I?
Yes.
Okay. And everyone can see my screen also, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, everyone, for joining me on this webinar, which is where we will talk about the myths and the strategies of growing UX career. So one of the primary objectives of this webinar is to familiarize with you, to help you understand the myths or the mistakes that UX designers do across the globe, especially when they are trying to build their UX career, and to offer you certain concrete, well-defined strategies that you can use to address the myths and the mistakes, and to grow your UX career. So what I'm planning to do here is to give you a glimpse of my UX journey so far. And so that because these are the exact kind of mistakes and the strategies that I did when I was growing my UX career. And these are the exact strategies that I had to develop to address these issues and to grow my UX career. So let's begin. So this is how I have planned for today. So in the beginning, I'll be touching upon why UX design is still one of the hottest careers in the world, and why it will remain as a hot career in the coming years as well. Then I'll briefly introduce myself or give you a glimpse about my UX journey and the mistakes that I did when I was growing my UX career. And just like anyone else, when we make a mistake, we learn something out of it. Otherwise, there is no point of having a mistake in your life. So what I learned from that, and just by learning is not good enough. You have to put it into practice, what you learned, and you have to create some strategies so that you don't make those mistakes ever again. So these are the 8 strategies that I have come up with, and I applied, and it proved to be very useful for me. So then I'll outline those strategies for you. Then at the end, I'll give you a few paths that you can take going forward to build your UX career. And in the end, we will have a question and answer session. I think that would be some slides to go. So we will catch up pace along the way. So please make sure that I know that you will have questions. And so either you can put it in the chat box or you can ask during the question and answer session. But do ask. So let's begin. So why opt for UX design career in 2021? Yes, it is a future ready career. We all know that. We all are UX designers. And even if you are somebody who is planning to join the bandwagon of UX, even then you are somewhat familiar with the concept of UX design, and you know that UX is going to be the one of the most popular careers in the future. So let's see why. Here are my 4 top reasons why UX design career is going to be hot in the future. One is a global demand. In LinkedIn in 2020 actually came up with a report and said that listed UX design as one of the most sought after in-demand career in 2020. And that shows the increase in the global demand for UX. In 2021, Google has actually introduced a new ranking factor, which was UX. Now, what does that mean for businesses? Now, businesses, in order to improve the revenue, they will have to improve the UX now. Now, how do they do that? I mean, they need to optimize the UX of their pages. Otherwise, their pages will not be listed up in the search engine rankings. So only when they have sufficient search engine rankings, they will have enough leads for their products or services. And from the product or services leads, they can convert, they can have enough conversion, and from conversions, they can have more revenue. So just by introducing UX as a ranking factor has far-reaching impacts on businesses. And because the businesses needs to focus on UX, we will have a lot more opportunities, lot more projects, lot more job opportunities coming along the way. So 2021, we will have a lot more opportunities, and going forward also, we hope to find a lot more opportunities. Now, in the last 2 years, the pandemic hit us, yes. And pandemic actually promoted in many ways the online business. Now, everybody, every small shop owner wants to have a website. They want to take their business to the digital. Just because, at least from a delivery standpoint, they need to, if they want to survive, they need to have an online business. So COVID actually helped a long way in promoting the online businesses. Another thing was the entire workforce actually moved from office to their homes or anywhere, where they got themselves locked up. So now they need to work from anywhere. So that work from anywhere culture also actually increased the demand for UX. Now, another important factor is UX is the product differentiator these days. Now, if you look at business verticals and business horizontals, you will see most of the business verticals and horizontals are filled with products that are almost identical in nature. Same features, same target, same group of people they are targeting, same pie of revenue they all target at. Now, if the business needs to optimize the revenue, what can they do? They need to have their product different in the market. Now, how can they do it when all the products have similar feature, all the products are targeting the same user group? Now, the only way they can do it is by optimizing the UX. Now, UX will give a competitive market advantage to those businesses who take care of the UX of their product. Now, that's why we see a lot more businesses now focusing on UX. So UX as a product differentiator it has great significance when it comes to increasing the demand for UX career. Now, UX design is a particular domain where you can carry forward many skills that you develop in your life in other domains as well, and bring it over to UX when you are switching career. So it is highly interdisciplinary. So transferable skills are very effective when it comes to UX. So more and more people are now coming and joining the bandwagon of UX. Now, when we consider the salary and the pay package of UX positions, they pay much more than many other technical positions out there in the tech industry. So I don't want to dig into the numbers here, but maybe the global increase in the global demand for UX positions and UX skill, and also the skill shortage actually contributed to the increased salary and the pay package that is available for UX positions these days. And there are some positions like UX research, which are sub-niche of the UX, which gets even more paid. So you need to think of developing your skills in those areas to get more revenue from your daily job. Yes. You need to think of the business is selling something and business is taking your service just because they don't have it. So you need to you need to start thinking like a business. You need to sell your service to the business that will give you maximum money. That's it. So, so for those who has no idea who I am and why you should listen to me, this is where I'll give you a brief introduction about my UX journey. So, my name is Shivaprasad. I'm a UX consultant, mentor, speaker. I founded screenflows.com, which happens to be the hub of UX designers from across the globe. I have 15 years of experience, 15 to 19 years of 20 years of experience in the domain of UX, where I started off as a UX designer, junior UX designer, and I went all the way up to design manager. And I occupied many other UX consultant leadership roles in many companies. I had good fortune to work with design companies like Human Factors International, business consultancy companies like EY. Then I went on to few tech giants like Hexaware. I started off my career in a media organization, which happens to be one of the biggest in India. It's called Manorama Online. And after that, after my corporate stint of fairly long time, then I decided that I need to focus on something else. So I decided that I will focus on two aspects of domain of UX. Now I mentor designers to grow UX career. So that is one part of my activity, and the other part where I work with corporations and startups to come up with products that are easy and delightful to use. So this is what I do right now. So to give you a brief, just like many of you, I started off as a junior UX designer, and I started off at the bottom of the corporate ladder, and I went up all the way and occupied leadership roles. I know, and even worked as UX manager, UX consultant, you name it. I have worked in most of the roles. So, but I could manage this thing through consistent effort and hard work. But things were not that easy all the way. I had to, things were never that easy because I started off at the bottom, just like you. So along the way, I did a lot of mistakes, and I had a lot of myths in my mind. And I learned a lot of stuff from these mistakes and the myths. And when these myths, I put it into practice, I realized that they are all mistakes, and I had to learn from it. Now, these are the same mistakes that every UX designer out there would be doing it at some point of time in their career. So that's why I'm giving so much importance to these myths and mistakes. So let's see what are the few mistakes that I did. And I am personally aware that when I talk to many people out there, these are the same mistakes that they do all over again and again and again. There are a few things that I learned which would be very useful for you to implement in your life, in your career. So one of the primary mistakes that I had, or the myths that I had, was I thought random videos and blog posts are sufficient to learn UX. Now, when you learn anything from random videos and blog posts, what happens is that they all remain random. They will never get connected. So, but in a real UX scenario or in a real UX project, all the techniques and the tools and the principles and the concepts, they all are interconnected, and they all get applied in different combinations, and they will be used in tandem. So, so when you learn from random videos and blog posts, your knowledge will remain isolated and disconnected and will stay random. So you will have great difficulty in understanding how each of these random UX concepts and techniques that you learned from these videos are aligned to achieve bigger UX goals. So every UX project has a goal. I think we all know that. So how these different concepts are laid down in a connected way, in an interconnected way, so that these goals can be achieved, will be out of the question for us when we learn from random videos and blog posts. So my learning was, you need to approach your learning in a structured fashion. So structured learning UX is absolutely essential to apply interconnected UX concepts and techniques in the right user context to achieve the right UX goals. So the point is, don't rely too much on random videos and blog posts. And don't ever think that learning from these things are sufficient to learn UX or to grow UX career. Now, okay, we need to learn things in a structured fashion. I thought, okay, I understood that. Now I went on and I joined courses. Now now I had the second mistake. Completing courses are enough to build a UX career. I began to think in that. Okay, I have enrolled myself in 3 courses. Now everything is taken care. I thought. Now, learning courses is one part of the game. Learning UX knowledge is just one part of the game. But unless and until you start applying this, whatever you learn from these courses, your skills, your UX skills will never improve. Trust me on that. Because I have personally gone through it and I've made the mistakes and I've felt the frustration of it. So that's why I'm telling you, start applying the principles that you learn from the courses. So application of UX concepts and techniques in real user context with the business constraints. Business constraints can be in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of resources. So you need to consider that. And so in a real environment, how these concepts and techniques are applied will decide how much, when you apply these concepts in the real environment, then only your skill will improve. So completing courses are not enough. Okay, now then I started learning. I started to apply on different things, so as much as I can. Then I thought, okay, at some point of time, I took up learning new tools. Okay, I started learning at Figma. I started learning at Shure, Balsamiq, Marvel, Adobe XD. All sorts of different things are available. So I picked up multiple tools and started learning. Now, at one point, I had an impression that, okay, because my output is going to be a prototype or a mock-up or a wireframe, okay, I know Adobe XD, I know Figma, I can create fairly good prototypes. That's enough. I thought, now I can skip learning UX. Yes, I don't have to go in depth about UX knowledge. That was one of the mistakes that I did. And trust me, when you do that, I'll give you an example here. When you actually, there was a time just like you all did, I started learning the tools and I started applying for jobs. And when I started applying for jobs, some of the companies actually shortlisted me and they sent me an assignment. And the requirement that was from me to the company as part of the job assignment was to send out a prototype and to give a document that clearly explains my design thinking. That's where everything went for a toss for me. Because if you need to explain the design rationale, or if you need to explain the design thinking behind your prototype or design decisions, you need to have in-depth knowledge of UX processes. You need to be able to understand how to observe the users, how to understand users' pain points, how to understand how to do the research, and how to talk to stakeholders, how to extract the knowledge from stakeholders, and how your UX solution should actually bridge between the business requirement and the user's goals. So when you connect these two things, only then you will be able to give that design thinking behind it. So learning tools, I thought learning tools is more than enough, but I realized at some point that I need to learn UX also. Because focusing too much on tools will get me nowhere. Because this is one of the major skills that UX mature organizations are actually looking for when it comes to recruiting a new UX person into the team. Because your ability to explain the design thinking behind your design decisions is an absolute must when you are aiming for higher UX mature organizations. So learning tools is never enough. Another mistake that I did was I need to be technically and I need to have design background to build my UX career. So I ended up wasting a lot of time on learning JavaScript. I ended up learning Python. I ended up learning a lot of programming languages. I ended up wasting a lot of time. That's what I would say, because I also spent a lot of time in learning visual design tools like Illustrator, After Effects, and all that. Because these are tools which are meant for people who are deep into the graphic design, visual design part of it. So UX designer is never expected to do that. All that. So never have an impression that you need to spend a lot of time in learning coding skills, and you need to have knowledge in pixel perfect icon create. You should be able to create pixel perfect icons and all that. There are many other skills that you need to build as a user UX designer. Maybe one of them would be empathy. How you can observe, how you can ask questions and extract the actual problems of the user, how you can observe them, how you can listen to them, how you can ask questions to them, open-ended questions, so that you will get the real crux of the issue. You can get to the real crux of the issue that the user is facing. These are the skills that you need to build. And maybe another skill, if you ask me, maybe would be problem solving skills. How you would be able to solve the problems for the users. What are the different options of coming up with a solution for it? So maybe problem solving and empathy would be a right point to start. So these are the skills which may look like abstract skills or life skills, but it's quite applicable in the UX design. These are the areas where you need to really work on. And these are the things that will not get improved one day. Maybe if you learn an HTML tag, it's not that easy to build your empathy skill. So it will take a longer time to build those life skills. So work on that. Maybe focus less on the technical and the design aspect of it, and focus more on your life skills, because that will contribute more towards your UX job. Such. So again, UX is an interdisciplinary domain. So maybe the ability to empathize and problem solve within user and business constraints would be one of the most sought after skills that you need to have when you are applying for jobs in UX mature organizations. So never waste your time on programming, hardcore programming skills. But at the same time, you need to be aware what technology can do. Because when you know what technology can do for you, your UX solutions will be much more in tune with that. So only stay at a level where you are familiar with what's going on in the design, in the visual design world, as well as in the technical, in the UI development world. Never go in depth, because you are a UX designer. You need to focus on things that the core skills of a UX designer. That's where you need to build your skills. Okay. This is another mistake that I did. I thought that, okay, just like many of you would be thinking, it would be very easy to self-study and apply. So I am more than enough. I can do everything on my own, and I can start applying and I can get a job in IBM. That's what everybody thinks. But trust me, when you can self-study, but you will end up learning wrong concepts. You will end up applying concepts in the wrong business scenario, applying concepts in the wrong user scenario. And you will end up wasting a lot of your time, even energy, your effort, and even your money. You will end up losing all that, and you will end up wasting a lot of time. So what you really need is validation of your skills, validation of the quality of your design. And you also need to have proper feedback. You need to have somebody to look up to you and tell you that you are doing this thing wrong and you need to work on this. These are the things that you need to really focus on. Only then you will be able to improve your skills. Validation and maybe somebody to give you proper feedback is what you need to find. So the most practical way would be to work with a senior designer who will also act as a mentor for you. And that person can really help you in guiding your career, guiding your UX approach based on his industry experience. And he can also validate the quality of the UX solutions that you come up with. And also, what UX technique are you applying in a particular situation? Is this the right one or is this the wrong one? Do you really need to apply it in sequence, in combination? Do you need to do that? Only when you talk to a different or senior UX designer, you will get to know that. Also, what you should really learn as a UX designer. Because some people would say that you need to learn this. Some people would say that, okay, you need to learn scripting. Other person would say something, motion graphics you need to learn. So these are not the things that you really need to focus. You need to really start talking to senior designers. Maybe in your office, you will have senior designers. Talk to them, get their opinion, get on LinkedIn, ask people, talk to more people who are ahead in your UX journey and get their feedback. Start talking, find them as a mentor, ask them if they are available as mentors, and share your thoughts, share your designs, share your project details if possible, if it's not restricted by the NDA and all that. But share your approaches and get their feedback. Your learning will be much more and you will progress many times faster than if you are doing it alone. And you will not end up wasting your time on wrong concepts and wrong applications, and you will end up progressing much faster. So self-study, yes, you can do it, but there is always a better way. You can talk to many more people. You can always discuss with senior designers and select them as mentors. Join mentoring programs, join or start talking to people. At least minimum start talking to senior designers and get their opinion. And they will give you alternate design perspectives. And when you design something, what happens is that you will think that, okay, this is the optimum solution that I have. But when you show it to a senior designer, he will give you 2 more options or 3 more options. You can approach the same problem. Now that is what you want. Now imagine if you have, instead of 1 solution, now you have 4 possible solutions in front of you. Now see how much you have learned out of this. So you need to start talking to senior designers. You need to start finding mentors. That is the most practical solution. When I did it, I had very bad command over English. Trust me on that. When I started my career, I had very bad command over English. And most of the senior designers in India were not ready to help me. And when I reached out, there were people outside India who were ready to help me, but I couldn't communicate with them properly. So I had great difficulty in communicating. So I couldn't take their services also. So they, within the constraints of language, they would try to help me out. They would share resources, all that stuff. But things have improved manyfold these days. You will find excellent mentors, you will find excellent designers even here in India, but you have to find them. You just have to find them and start talking to them. Your learning will be many times faster and your progress will be many times more. So please don't assume that you can do it alone. Yes, you can do it, but you will be ending up wasting your time and you will end up frustration. You will end up having a lot of frustration. That's what my experience is. Now, those were the mistakes that I did. I mean, there are many other mistakes that I did when I was trying to grow my UX career, but these were the major kind of mistakes that I did. And I know that many of you would be doing the same thing. And that's why these are the mistakes that are actually holding you back from launching your UX career also. So if you address these things, you will have faster progress, you will learn faster, you will start to apply much faster, and you will be a better UX designer in the end. So here are a few strategies that I had come up with when I was trying to build my UX career based on the mistakes and the frustrations that I had. And these are the advantages of these strategies is that you will be able to, at whatever level of your career you are, I mean, even if you are a student, even if you are a early stage UX designer, a beginner, or even if you are an advanced, experienced UX designer, you can still apply these strategies and gain value. Sometimes you will feel that, okay, I am not in UX, I am in a different domain, and I want to switch over to UX. Yes, you can apply these strategies there also. and you can gain a lot of value. Now, okay, you might have different roadmaps for your career. For example, you might want to build your technical skills. For example, if you are aiming to improve your skills in connected devices, then you might need to learn little in depth about Python, all sorts of IoT devices and all that. So that your prototyping abilities are much more, because you cannot have that freedom of prototyping a connected environment. So you need to work with, even to create prototype, you will need some sort of prototyping Python skills or programming skills. So you need to build on that. So if such a person wants to build their Python skills, even then he can apply this thing and gain value out of it. So let's see what are those strategies. Now, the first strategy that I came up with was this. These are strategies that I developed for myself. I'm sharing it to you because it will be very useful, because it worked for me. Practice the mindset of a UX designer. Now, what is that mindset of a UX designer? Now, the ideal mindset of a UX designer should be to ask the whys behind every design decision that they come across. Now, what do I mean by the whys? I mean, you need to find out the design rationale behind every design decision, the why behind every design decision. The more you do it, the better your ability to explain the rationale behind your design decision. I'll give you an example. For example, if you have to design a yellow button on a UI, you should ask yourself, why am I designing a yellow button on the screen? Is it because the marketing team wanted me to add a yellow button? Or is it the product team wanted me to change the red button to yellow button? Or maybe technical team wanted me to do it. Or client just asked you to do it. What is the reason? But for a real UX designer, these are not the reasons why you add a button. You need to add it for 2 or maybe 3 reasons. One, it should clearly satisfy a business case. For example, if that is the button that will generate revenue for the business, yes, you should have it. If the your user's attention should be there on the most actionable button and the most revenue yielding action for the business. If you want attention on that, then there's a use case behind it. There is a use case. So either there should be a use case or a business case because of which you take a decision. You take a design decision. Also, you can take a decision because the technical team has great difficulty in achieving that. So sometimes what happens is that when you propose something, the technical team might say that, okay, this is very hard to achieve, and it might affect some other part of the product also. So in that case also, you might have to come up with a different UX solution. But at the same time, whatever alternate design solution that you come up should satisfy users' requirement and the business case also. So when you start asking the whys behind every design decision, you will be able to improve your ability to explain the design rationale. And I previously said all this, mentioned this. This is one of the skills that is most sought after when you are going up your ladder, especially into mature organizations. So always practice the mindset of a UX designer. Now, the second strategy would be decide a direction. Now, when it comes to digital design, generally, there are 3 areas where you can focus. One is visual design, the other would be UX design, and the other one would be full stack or UI development. Now, you need to focus on any of this. Now, if you are coming from a graphic design background, or if you are coming from a non-technical zone, then your option would be either to remain as a visual designer or a UX designer. So that's where this UI UX designer came about. Now, maybe in the beginning of your UX career, when you are trying to get into the industry, maybe you can focus 50% on visual design and 50% on UX design, and you can call yourself a hybrid designer. But along the way, when you get some experience in some companies as a UI UX designer, you need to start focusing on any of these three areas. When you actually focus along the way, if you do not uh, specialize, if you don't specialize on any of these, what happens is that your focus, your effort, and your time, everything will be spent on learning multiple things that falls under visual design and UX design. So your proportionately your progress will be lesser because you have a lot more to learn now, and you have a lot more to apply, and you have a lot more tools to learn, and you have to work with multiple mentors or multiple designers to to fine tune your skills. So design validation will take more time. So previous mistakes that if you have seen, uh, all those steps will take more time because you are focusing on both UX and visual design. So maybe in the beginning, to get a grip of the career and to get a feel of how things operate in an ideal design team, you can focus both on visual design and UX design and call yourself a hybrid designer or a UI UX designer. But after 2 years or after 3 years, when you are aiming higher into a UX mature organization, then you need to specialize and you need to focus on either of this. The basic advantage of specializing is you will be able to learn what is the core requirement of that domain in a quicker pace. So your progress will be much more. And also, you will be able to rule out many of the job opportunities that come to you based on the matching of your skills. For example, if you are a visual designer, you can rule out a job which are heavily UX centric. If you are a UX designer, if a job comes in which is heavily visual design centric, you can avoid. Definitely you will. And also, you will be able to when you specialize, you will be able to fine tune your resume and portfolio and whatever deliverables that you are sending out according to the core skills of that specialization. The advantage of that is you will be minimizing the number of jobs that you are applying, but you will have better chance of getting through because you will be a better candidate for the hiring manager because your skills are matching with the job description. Because imagine if the position is a UX designer and you promote your visual design skills on your portfolio, then there is a gross mismatch between what they expect and what you deliver. So they will rule it out. So maybe in the beginning stage, you might feel that, okay, I'm losing out on opportunities. But wherever there is a match between your skill and your the job description, you have better chances of getting through because you are projecting yourself as an exact match. And you will be building the core skills of that specialized zone also. For example, if you are a UX designer, then you will have to build your UX design skills, not visual design skills. Maybe you should be familiar with all that, but your core focus should be on UX design. So decide a direction. Maybe in the beginning, you can be a hybrid designer, but as you progress, you need to specialize. Now, use only trusted sources that provide structured UX knowledge. Yes. So what I'm suggesting is avoid random UX, random videos from YouTube and random blog posts to learn things. Rely heavily on the books by authoritative textbooks or authoritative courses that give you structured knowledge. Also, you can rely on papers from organizations, white papers from leading companies. All this will give you exactly how the UX process should be carried out. So never rely on random concepts that are available on random videos. So that will make you only confused. So use only trusted sources that provide structured UX knowledge. Yes. As again, learning alone is not enough. Apply UX knowledge. I'll give you an example. I have a friend in US. She was actually working in a restaurant and she was parallelly learning UX. Now she wanted to apply what she was learning in that boot camp she was attending and in her current job. So the point is, you need to whatever that you are doing, you need to apply whatever business line or career you are in. You need to apply what you are learning as part of UX. So that's what I'm coming actually. So this lady, what she did was, when she was learning UX, she learned about UX centered design, user centered design process, and the UX process along the way, and the techniques and the tools and the concepts also. Now she wanted to apply. Now what she did was she was working as a waitress in a restaurant. Those in US and all that, you need to make money, you need to work, you need to find jobs that are easily available, and there is absolute respect for all jobs. So people find even waitress jobs to be as equal as a nuclear scientist. So so it's absolutely fine with them to work as a to make money. They will work as a waitress also. So she was working there and she wanted to apply the UX skills in there. Now what she did was she decided that she will start talking to the customers there, and she started talking, and she found out certain issues regarding ordering the food. Now she decided that okay, I will apply user-centered design to rework on the menu that is available, and she did that. Now see how she is applying it. Now she also did what she also did was she she found that there are people waiting outside every time, especially in the peak hours. Now she thought that if more people can be allowed to come in in the peak hours, uh, will that be beneficial for the business? And she thought that okay, how about rearranging the whole chairs and the tables in the floor space of that restaurant? So what she did was she talked to the people and she applied the user-centered design to rearrange the whole thing. And so that now at any given point of time, more people can come in and sit and get served by the company, get served by the business, and I mean the restaurant. So what happened was her redesigning of the whole chairs and the tables actually helped the business to make more revenue. Now it directly impacted the bottom line of the business. Now, my point is you need to look around. You need to look around and find where you can apply. Maybe as a passion project, you can get on with freelance platforms, find projects there, and maybe you can offer your services to charitable organizations. Maybe you can offer your services to startups. Maybe start going for meetups, startup meetups. Find the entrepreneurs there, start talking to them and try to help them. But here the objective is to learn and to apply and have something on your portfolio. That's what we are trying to do. So never think about money here. Your objective is to apply your UX knowledge in the actual projects. So always find avenues to apply your UX knowledge. Applying UX knowledge will only build your UX skill and confidence. Otherwise, learning is not enough. Again, so you have to find that opportunities. We have to create those opportunities to actually apply the UX skills that we learn. Now, develop problem-solving skills to solve users and business problems. Now, if you develop your problem-solving skills, yes, this is a muscle that you need to develop over a period of time, and there is no shortcut. When you find a problem, you have to think of alternate solutions to it. So that's what you have to do. When you are problem-solving skills, when you focus on your problem-solving skills, what happens is that you will be approaching the same problem from different perspectives, because you will consider who are the people, the stakeholders of this problem, who is getting affected by it, and who is supposed to solve. So you will think in detail. You will dig down deeper into the problem, and you will realize that because of certain behaviors of the users or somebody, this problem is getting created. And how is it getting affected? Or why is the reason behind this problem is arriving in the first place? So your solution, actually your problem solving skills will actually help you to come up with solutions that are both will have actually help approach this problem in a more cohesive way, in a more organized way. And when you practice that thing, eventually in your actual job and in your UX career, you will be able to come up with UX solutions that are more user-centric and business-centric. So problem solving skills is another thing that you can work on. You need to start working on from today. And the good thing is, these are things that you can start working from today. After the call, you can start working. So that is one of the good things about these strategies. Now, again, the same point. If you think that, yes, you can work it out, you can start learning all by yourself, But your programs will be much faster if you start working with a senior designer who can work with act as a mentor also. So that mentor can actually give you alternate design perspectives and actually validate your design solution. If that is good, which technique you should ideally apply it, and how you should apply, in what order should you apply, and in what combination should you apply. Instead of learning at random, you will be able to connect. You will be able to understand when you are working with a mentor or a senior designer, you will be able to understand that, okay, how personas are actually used in arriving at the features of the product, how the user's problem are getting converted into product features and functionality. So you will come to understand that only when you are working with a senior designer. Okay, I'll give you another example here. Where you can learn heuristic evaluation from web or many other sources. What do they teach you? They will teach you the 10 Jacob Nielsen's principles. Now, when you actually apply these principles on a UI or a product, will you really understand which all principles have been violated and which all principles have been complied? And you will only be able to do it only when you start applying, and you will be able to see that violation or a compliance only with alternate design perspectives. And because when you begin applying, you will not see serious issues. That's how everything begins. So when you do that, you will be able to, when you start working, when you get the validations and the alternate design perspectives, you will understand that, okay, this is how the principle 6 or the recognition rather than recall, this principle getting violated when there is a simple label becomes an input field. I mean, when there is a blinking cursor is there. This is something that I was discussing with one of my mentees. So actually the interface was for entering the name, but there was great difficulty when people were not entering the details, entering the names. Now, what I found was, what that person, through discussion, we found that because of the missing, there was something missing there, and that was the blinking cursor. So without the blinking cursor, what happened was everybody thought that this was just a label. So instead of that label, if there was a blinking cursor, this could have, people would have understood that, okay, this is a field for input. Now, we could come up with, and we realized that this is a violation of sixth principle of Jacob Nielsen. That is recognition rather than recall. So only these are the things that you can start realizing and observing only when you start working with a mentor. Now, develop a habit of creating artifacts. Now, you can start with simple sketches. You can start with storyboards and progress towards more detailed prototypes and wireframes and all that. So, one of the best things about having this skill or a habit of creating artifacts is you can communicate your design better way, and you will be able to conceptualize your solution better way into a prototype. Also, you will be able to split your tasks into multiple processes and steps. So the easiest way would be to look around and maybe find a simple task that is being performed in your home or in your office, maybe making a tea or a coffee, or washing clothes, or taking a printout from the machine and all that. So, and split it into tasks and create a storyboard out of it, and bring the user as maybe the stickmans that is given out at the top of that image. So, and bring certain emotion to that user. So by smileys and all that, so that you will be able to express how the user is feeling at each stage. So this will actually help you to create wireframes and prototypes later in your UX career. So always have the habit of creating artifacts. Be a people person. Observe, listen, ask questions, and improve your public speaking skills. Now, if you are a very good people person, what happens is that you will be able to perform better in a user research process and even usability testing. And you will, if you improve your public speaking skills, definitely you will be able to be a better workshop taker. You will be able to organize and take a workshop in a better way. And also you will be able to communicate better with the stakeholders when you are actually presenting your design case. So you need to be a people person and you need to improve your public speaking skills. These are the strategies that will really work on you. Now, when I started my career and I reached leadership roles, and I still observe when I talk to people, I still see people have the same mistake. The UX designer, upcoming or the emerging or the beginner UX designers are still committing the same old mistakes that I used to have when I started my UX career. So I decided that I need to do something about this. So I created a mentoring program actually, which is which actually avoids, I mean, because I had to go through a lot of frustrations of learning, self-learning, applying at the wrong time, wrong place, and wrong technique, applying in the business context and all that. So I wasted a lot of time, energy, and money and all that. So I decided that there should be somebody who would actually help them so that they can avoid the stress and the strain and the frustration of doing it all alone without any direction. So I created a mentoring program. And the mentoring program I created, which is currently running, has 3 phases. One is knowledge acquiring. I'll make it really fast. I think we are coming to 4 o'clock. So these are 3 spaces. One focuses on the entirely on the knowledge through courses and through practice sessions and all that. And the second phase focuses on the mentoring program. It would be one-to-one. And the third would be to work on the reworking of your portfolio and actually how you can perform better by defending your portfolio in an actual interview through mock interviews. So these are the 3 phases that is having in that mentoring program. So mentoring program is something that will be of great benefit to you in the end. So even if you are not part of a mentoring program, you should find a senior designer and start working with them. So at the end of this mentoring program, you will be given a certificate also. And so far, I'm associated with this XP software and Infosys also. They recommend this program to their employees, UX team. So I'm honored to be a part of it. So, so the way forward is as simple as that. You can continue with self-learning. Even you can still get there. Definitely, you can get there. And I'm a proven person who did that. So you can self-learn, progress slowly, go through all the frustrations, and learn on yourself. Practice, tons of practice, and get there. So that is one option. The second option would be to find a mentor. Find a mentor, start working with a senior designer, and progress really fast. So these are the 2 options. If I were in your position, when I could not find a proper mentor at that time. So maybe that I could have saved 5 years of my hard work if I had a mentor, but I didn't get a mentor. So I would say I wasted 5 years of my career in learning things. So I could have progressed and reached the destination 5 years earlier if I had a proper mentor. So always find a mentor, start working with that person, even if you have to pay money for it. So thank you, and you can have your questions. I hope you found value. You learned a few stuff here, and I think you found value. So let's have the question and answer session. You can reach me in all these places. I am on LinkedIn. You can have my mobile number. You can the mentoring program is down below. You can visit that place, and if you are interested, you can check it out. Definitely keep in touch, and you can ask me questions here, and in the coming days on LinkedIn, wherever, you can always reach me. So I'm always available to help you out. So thank you very much, and over to you for the session, for the question and answer session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shiv Prasad. I'm a newbie UX designer.
One second. Let me switch off the fan.
Oh, no problem. No worries. Thank you so much. It was a really interesting session because we can see a rise in a lot of new UX designers, people who are just starting out, people who are coming from different fields, people who are visual designers and moving to UX. So it's a little tricky. They don't have a lot of clarity on how to take it forward. So my first question to you would be, what do you suggest for a person starting out, whether they should work with a design agency, an IT services company, a product company, an ad agency, Like you have different opportunities. So where do you think it would be best for someone to start out?
It doesn't matter. When you are starting off, what you really should focus is, you should be able to apply your UX knowledge on real projects. Even if it is a design agency or a marketing agency or a digital agency or a software company, wherever you can apply your design knowledge, UX design knowledge, that person is more than enough to start off. So it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you get opportunities to apply the UX knowledge that you have. And always keep learning and find opportunities to apply. That is the point. That's where you start. Because at that point, when you're starting off, you are not sure which direction should you take, because you are stepping into the zone of design. So you need to, and when you're starting off, that's why I said you need to be a hybrid designer in the beginning, where you can focus a little bit on the visual design and also on the UX part. Now, as you progress, when you gain some experience, along the way, if you want to really progress into a UX mature organization, you need to specialize, because in these mature UX companies, UX teams, what happens is that there will be different teams who will be focusing on different aspects of design. For example, there will be people who will be researching only on the users and coming up with prototypes. They are called UX team. Now, there will be some people who would be working on the prototypes created by the UX team and into making visually appealing, well-balanced, colorful, aesthetically pleasing, with proper typography, with proper balancing of objects, with the margin, with proper margins and alignments and all that. So pixel perfect visual design. So that's where the visual design key team comes in. And with the prototype and with the proper functionality planned, interaction design model planned, and visual design model properly done, these are the two things that the developing team, the UI developers actually make use of to come up with the code. And this code is the one that will get integrated into the system. So when you are in a UX mature organization, you will find 2 or 3 different teams. So their positions are actually into any of these teams. So if you don't specialize, what happens is that you will know a little bit of all things. So you will end up a mismatch, because when when each team focuses on something, that team member should know in depth about that. So and that's where I said the mismatch of resumes, mismatch of portfolio should not happen. Once you focus, you will be able to eliminate a lot of jobs, at the same time customize your portfolio and resume to the matching jobs. So, and when you specialize, you will be learning things faster, because your focus will be entirely on one core set of principles. So you can do that. I mean, basically in the beginning, you can be a hybrid designer. It doesn't matter where you are, in which company you are, as long as you can apply these principles. When I started off started off my career, my UX career in a content team actually, and at that time there was no such thing as UX design as such. So maybe one of the first things that I did was to place a downloadable link of fonts in the homepage of Manoram Online. That was way back in 2000. Okay, at that time there was no such thing as HTML5 or media query and all that. So Malayalam reading as a font was a tedious task. So you need to download the Malayalam font and install it. Only then you will be able to read the Malayalam content. Now it gets rendered by the browsers only, browsers on the fly. Now that requirement is not there. But one of the biggest problems that at that time we faced was, most of the people would complain that we can't read. And most of the mails to the customer support would say that we are not able to read your newspaper. So we decided that because we have so many mails coming in complaining that the inability to read, we decided that we will have a link on the homepage to download fonts. It was as simple as that. Maybe that was the first data-driven design decision that I took. It was way back. It was way back in 2003, 4. So that was the first data-based design decision. And I placed that link and we brought down the complaint by 50%. Trust me, 50% of the mails stopped coming in because everybody now sees and they all download. So we could actually solve the problem of font issue at that point. And that really helped me. And maybe getting into certain organizations as a UX designer, I used this thing. And I could really convince people that, okay, actually a design decision would actually help the business and the users. So you need to, when you are going forward, you need to really start observing similar examples also, because you would be able to tell as a story to the hiring manager that your action actually helped the business. How did it actually help them? So start off anywhere. That's a point. That was your question. Start off anywhere. Apply your UX knowledge. So find a place where you can apply it and then gain some experience, then specialize.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to request the audience we've enabled unmute option. So you can unmute yourself, turn on your video and ask your questions. So while you do that, you can also drop in a question in the chat window. So since you spoke about having been in content writing, how do you think if someone wants to specialize in UX writing? Because there are very few opportunities, but do you think there's a great way to build that skill? So I asked this question once and someone told me, you just have to work for a long time and you'll gain it. But I'm sure there must be an answer that you have for us.
How many of you know that before UX writing, there was something called copywriting?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, definitely.
So, copywriting is actually conversion-centric content writing. That is what copywriting is all about. You have, through text and through your communication, you are actually making people to buy your product or service. That's what is, simply put, copywriting is all about. So UX writing actually evolved from it. Now, again, as I said, all these things gained a lot of momentum and importance because the products these days are almost similar. So people have n number of options. For example, if you are trying to buy a social media management tool and you run a search, you will find 50 products targeting you, aiming at you to sell the product with equal, almost same price band, with the same set of features. Now, how will you decide which one to use? Now, automatically, we will go to reviews, right? We will automatically go to reviews. So we will go there and we will make a decision. Now, once they're shortlisted, what happens? You will go to a website. And when you go to the website, what happens is you need to know how that is going to solve your problem. Now, many of these sites will not tell you in the first 5 seconds, or even if you browse the entire site, some sites will not tell you how that product is going to help you, because the content will be so untuned to make you buy. So that is one aspect of UX writing because of the importance of conversion. So copywriting evolved into UX writing is because you need to make people to buy your product. Okay, so UX writing has gained importance. Also, previously, this was one of the skills of earlier UX designers, because they were asked to rework on manuals. And there is a theory out there, I don't clearly remember. If you ask a person to use the manual, you can be absolutely sure that the usability is not there, because it should be self-explanatory. Any product should help the user to use the product by instinct. Okay, so that's where the Jacob Nielsen's heuristics and all comes into play. So by recognition, you should be able to understand that this is how this will work, and this is how I should use it. That should be communicated back to you by the system itself or the interface itself. So, so to optimize this thing, the UX designer needs to rework on the manuals or the text on the UI so that they don't rely on the manuals, because manuals will actually the user needs to spend time to understand. And the moment you download, you will find that it's a 50-page document and nobody will go through it. And the easiest way would be call up the customer support and ask how I should do this. Now that's another problem. When you manage a customer support, when you manage a customer desk, what happens is that you will be spending money. So the more calls go into them, the more money the business needs to spend on calls to satisfy that call, and to most probably this desk will be managed by a third party, and their billing would be much more. So that actually there is a cost implication when you get too many calls related to product on a customer desk. So if you manage a person who is actually working on the manuals, UI, so that the number of calls that goes into the customer desk is reduced, and also if you can improve that same person's text, the ability to manipulate text in such a way that actual conversion is improved. So these are the three areas where a UX designer generally focuses. So this is the reason why when they found these three things to be very significant, especially when related to the revenue of the product, they decided that, okay, they need to have a UX writer in place. Because copywriter is not aware of the usability part. He is focusing more on the product and content only. So he is not aware of the usability, because many of these things like manual redoing and how the alert should be sent out to the user, and where the alert should be shown, and how to express the alert or notification in an optimal fashion. So that it doesn't interrupt the user's task, it doesn't scare the user off. So there is an element of understanding of usability is required when the copywriter to address these things. So they came up with a new position called UX writer, where copywriting skills would be a set for that person. At the same time, he should know a little bit about UX also. So that's why the UX thing came over. So the best way would be to learn UX again. Learn UX, and at the same time, start writing things with minimum number of words. Try to express your ideas in minimum number of words. That's it. If you have enough knowledge of UX, and if you can express your ideas clearly with minimum number of words, you can really do good in UX writing. But the number of positions out there are far less these days. It's only coming up. And I'm not sure how long this hype for UX writing would be there. So I would personally suggest that not to focus entirely on UX writing positions. Instead, focus on building your UX skills so that you can turn in the direction the wind blows. Okay.
That is a really interesting answer. So we have a question from Shalini. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask this? We have it in the chat window. Do you want to? Shalini.
Hi, Vandana.
Hi.
Go ahead. Yeah, so my question was like you've already said that, UX is everywhere, but, we're also starting to see CX and HX, that's customer experience and human experience, starting to come up more often. And so I just wanted to know, in your opinion, what's the relationship between UX, CX and HX in terms of what's similar, what's different, how are they connected? And what is the opportunity, I guess, of growth and interaction between the three?
For me, I'm not very well versed in HX actually. For me, HX and UX is almost the same, because it's user. It's one place it's called human, and one place it's called user, and it's interchangeable as far as I know. But I haven't had an opportunity to read about HX, so let me be very honest there. So if I'm not a good person to answer about HX. But when it comes to UX and CX, UX focuses more on the product. And the CX focuses entirely on a user's interaction with the business or a brand. So So actually, when you look at maybe from a 30,000 feet, like a bird's eye view, CX is at the top level and UX comes as a subset of it. Because UX, a company interaction of a user or a customer with the business will happen through multiple products. For example, let's take the case of a bank. Now that bank will have different types of devices being used in their business. For example, when it comes to customers. So he will be interacting the bank with the mobile app. They will be interacting with the website. They will be interacting with the bank on a daily basis. If not on a daily basis, they will be interacting with the teller machine or an ATM. And they will be having a lot of other interaction points where they will have touch base with the business. So when you actually take care of each of these things, instead of treating them as a silo, you are actually working on improving the CX. So when a person actually walks into a physical premise and opens an account, the first SMS that comes to in his account, maybe welcoming him, would be on a mobile device. Now, when you optimize the mobile device, when you optimize the mobile app, you are actually working on the UX of that product, because that is product related or interface related. It's a micro environment that you're optimizing. But when you take care of all these touch points separately, optimizing the UX of each of these technical touch points in relation with the actual experience that the user gets from the business as such or the brand as such, then you are working on the CX. So actually, when you address UX, to a great extent, you are contributing to CX. So,
okay.
So what exactly is your question now? How to approach CX, or should I move to CX? Is that how do you want to take this forward?
No, I was just curious to understand whether CX and HX is going to be the next UX. You know, like how we're seeing UX kind of a lot now, and now we're starting to see CX and HX come up. Is that a space that is going to blow up soon in terms of job opportunities?
CX is definitely going to be big in the future. I'm not sure about HX because I'm not well versed about HX, because I have not read so much about it. CX is definitely going to be something big, because at a broader level, you need to approach approach the business at a very broad level, not in terms of individual products, because individual products will contribute to the broader experience the customer gets from the business. But still, if you take each of this product in silo, many of the products will have branding issues. For example, if the tone of language or the way the brand appears to the customers, that may not reflect in each product if each of these products are taken in silo. So you need to see it as a reflection of the values and the ethos that the business wants to communicate. So first you define the CX, then translate that into UX goals and work on each product. That's what you should do.
So it's a more holistic view of
CX is more holistic.
Yes.
And UX is more product centric or interface centric.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Shiv Prasad.
Hi, Shiva. This is Vinay here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to ask you, like, we have heard, like, for the past hour, like, we were talking a lot about UX, right? I just wanted to know, like, what is your favorite digital product right now, and like, how well did that UX appeal to you, and what were like the scenarios like that product made you like that one? That's why.
Google, as always, everybody says. So Google, the primary reason why I'm still in love with Google is because you can only do one thing on the homepage, search. That's more than enough for me. And your attention will not get diverted. You are not given too many options. And so you will be able to focus on the core reason why you are there. That's a simple reason. So it will remain Google for me always, as long as they don't introduce anything else on the homepage, it will continue to remain the most favorite UX product for me, because it serves a purpose. It communicates instantaneously as to why, how it can resolve your problem, and you can achieve your task at a almost instantaneously. So, and it's optimized on all devices. So the UX is the best you can get.
Thank you, Vinay. We have one more question. Jomon, would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jomon. I'm working as a front-end developer. And my question is, like, there are certain specialization in UX I heard, like UX writer, consultant, etc. And as I'm a fresher, how would I choose either one of these based on what all skills? Can you give a brief idea about?
How many years of experience do you have actually?
Experience in developing, you mean?
In developing, at least in the industry, how many years of experience?
In the industry, I have 4+ years of experience.
Okay, and you want to switch the career?
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay, so when you actually switch your career from a front-end developer to UX, as I said, you have 3 options right now. One, you can focus on the UI development, full stack. You can continue doing that if you like it. If you can continue doing that, and at the same time, you need to be familiar with the other two.
Okay.
UX and visual design, because you are actually switching to UX or the design, right? Not you are leaving the. And another question that would be that I would like to ask you is, where would you like to go in down the line? Maybe 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line. What you want to be? I mean, you want to build your career in UI design, UI development, or visual design, or UX?
I want to become a UX designer.
Okay, so your goal is very certain. I mean, maybe in the beginning you should start learning. You should start learning because you have some experience in UI development. You should continue to sharpen that, and at the same time you should be familiar with UX design and visual design also. And now once you are confident enough about your UX skills, once you learn and you should start applying, you should rebrand yourself. You should rebrand yourself and start applying as a UX designer with considerable experience in coding.
Okay.
Okay. And now what you can do is, because you are trying to build a UX career, you need to apply in companies where the element of for example, in AI companies or data-driven companies. So these are the positions where the UX and the technical skills would be equally important, or the weightage of your technical skills would be very, very much useful. So parallelly, you need to learn UX.
Okay.
Be familiar with visual design. Sharpen your, continue to sharpen your technical skills. Now apply with a UX designer with strong programming background or strong dev background. Brand yourself.
Okay. And I'm sorry, like my question is not yet clear. Like, if I have a writing skill, should I go to UX writer?
UX writing, I would not recommend right now, because it's a career that is only developing right now. So it's too early, and you might not find enough positions to apply also. There might not be enough. And if you can prove, after all, if you are good at writing, and if you can prove how much UX how much optimization of UX happened because of the writing in terms of conversion, in terms of number of calls you minimized to the help desk and all examples I shared. So how much cost you saved, how much money you could, how much business you could generate through text and all that. So if you can prove that, yes, definitely you can build your career in UX. But I would say that you shouldn't focus entirely on UX writing. Instead, as I said earlier, you should build your career in gain knowledge in UX, start applying, and work as the industry develops. Okay, because
once
you might in future you might find better positions. For example, I have heard that even drones, even automatic cars, even those are developing as a separate branch for UX. So even I have heard that because of the electric cars are coming, the parts of the electric cars, the parts of the engine of the electric cars are so less that they are not going to make any sound at all. Now, Ferrari and BMW is actually building a UX team fully focused on the audio UX. And they are actually working with leading orchestras to come up with an alternate sound for the cars. And how you can connect it with actual context of the user, how the emotions of the users. For example, if the person is feeling low, maybe how can you detect that and change the noise inside the noise of the car and the sound inside the car to improve his mental state. So, and also how you can use the car's sound to reflect or represent the person driving. So if, for example, if a very wise man or maybe a college student going, some other noise will come out from the car's engine. So it's all context driven and user driven. So they are exploring that. So I'm not sure how the UX is going to evolve. It is going to evolve in a fairly different way. A lot of opportunities are going to come in. So don't restrict yourself into one thing. Gain knowledge in UX. Hardcore UX knowledge will help you to change in any direction the UX industry takes. So don't focus too much on the position right now. Focus your skills. Huh?
Okay. Thank you, Shiv Prasad.
Yes.
Hi, we have one more question from Anirudh. Anirudh, are you there? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Sure. Thanks, Agreed. Hi, Shiv Prasad. It was a very interesting session. We had so much in insights. To add to that, the electric vehicle thing. So there's one manufacturer called Lucid Motors, which is sort of a competitor for Tesla. And they have recently released a video exclusively for the user experience of the car. And I remember they're saying now the car's trend is going towards a digital screen rather than having individual buttons. And I remember that the UX designer saying that it is actually a bad practice to have a touch screen on a car, because they, while they were designing the car, they wanted to have actual physical buttons along with the digital screen. Because the user is driving, there's a big chance that the user will be focused onto the screen. You know, if he has to see the click has been registered, he might make a. So I think they are actually focusing very much into the experience part, to design a car just for the interior itself. Yeah. So I think in that case, in the automotive industry, UX has a very good impact.
Yes. Voice-driven cars, all the instructions by the driver, assuming that the driver is going to be there in the car.
Yes.
All the instructions from the driver will come through voice. I think there are cars even now in the laboratories. There are restricted environments where they are actually testing it out, fully driven by voice.
Exactly.
Voice commands. That's it.
I think Tesla has recently launched a version where there's an auto driving up to 200 kilometers something. If it is within that map boundary, they have registered. So yeah, so actually my question was a little different from this one. So regarding the UX process, is there any particular process that you would implement while you start a project, like the methodology for understanding users, for example, customer journey or empathy mapping? Is there any technique that do you think will be suitable for any sort of projects?
What kind of project?
So basically, the last project we were working with an e-commerce, not e-commerce. I mean, it was a website for job recommendation and job search. So we needed to study what kind of users would come to that website. Those who are experienced or those who are trying for the first time. So we needed to build a customer journey map. What and all the user would be doing if it's a first-time user or if it's an experienced user. So we were in the beginning, we got this little confused on what UX parameter should we follow. Is it customer journey or empathy mapping, or is it just based on pure research? So is there any methodology that you would prefer or you suggest it's the best?
Do you have any existing product?
And they have an existing website. Yes, they have an existing website.
So run a usability testing on it.
Okay.
Okay, that's where you can start. Run a usability testing, and also conduct a expert review. I mean, expert review in the sense that conduct a UX evaluation of the existing product.
Okay.
Find the problems and substantiate when the expert runs UX evaluation of the product, a lot of issues will come in. Okay.
Yeah.
And you need to, but those issues are from the experts. Okay.
Yeah.
So the expert is not the user.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So there is a difference. So however good the expert is, he will never be able to fully think for a user.
True. That is true.
So exactly why that is an error for a user, the expert will never be able to understand. So that's why I said start with the heuristic evaluation or an expert review of the product and evaluate the UX of the product, and then validate if those errors are really true and applicable in the case of users.
Yes.
Okay. And when you find users, go with this traditional user-centered design process.
Okay.
Create personas, find out, then create what are the pain points. I think the traditional things would be more than enough.
Exactly.
Journey map.
So no, please continue.
I personally feel that personas, if you take personas and if you can extract the relevant task being performed by the personas,
yeah,
and how what will be the features that would actually help the personas to complete their task. If you can do that, you don't need an entirely journey map itself, because what I feel is on majority of the occasions, task flows are more than enough to serve the good. Journey maps are maybe a task flow where you express the user's emotion also.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So that's a simple difference. I mean, many people. I mean, I get almost every day this question: what is the difference between journey map and a task flow?
Yeah.
So I would say it is a very bare bone. If you take a task in a bare bone fashion, where only the steps are there, then it's a task. Huh?
Yes.
Then if you superimpose that task with the emotions at each stage the user feels, then it becomes a journey map.
Yes.
Okay. That is I mean, you can find n number of differences, but this is an understanding that I have, and this works. This really works. So if you have this clarity, how it helps is, I'll tell you. You will be able to quickly decide if task flow is enough or you need to really do a journey map. If the user's emotion is so different at each stage, for example, if you are working on a, as somebody said, if you are working on a CX project where the user would be feeling very happy to use a mobile app, but that person is not very happy how that person is being treated at a branch, then you need a journey map.
Yes.
Because you need to work on the experience at that particular touch point. Okay. So you need a journey map there. And the path is almost very non-linear. So you need definitely you need a journey map when you are going in depth to it. But in usual environments where almost all the paths are somewhat linear and simple, then in that case, task flow is more than enough. So go ahead with the task flow. You don't need journey maps.
Exactly.
Okay, really. So then go ahead with the first MVP. First MVP, then create that, find out the reasons that will really help the business and really help the user's requirement. Include that in the first version of it. Then bring it in version wise, bring all the features version wise. Test it out, then come back. That's it. Then the entire process is purely UX centered design. That's it. One second. Somebody's at the door. Just a moment. Ask questions. Continue, please.
Thank you, Anirudh. I hope your question has been answered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, that's the UX, the link for the Lucid cards, which uses user experience. So.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Anirudh. We have one more question. So, Anna, are you there? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes, Grima, thank you so much. Is Shiv Prasad is there?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah, thank you. This is the second
time. Can you
time
speak a little louder? I can't hear you properly.
Yes, sir, I'm attending your session in the second time, and it was a wonderful session. Actually, I work as a technical writer come designer. In the meantime, I work with the UX team in visual designing and prototyping and all. So I always try to implement UX writing when I work with user manuals and web copies.
Very good.
So, but the problem I am facing is I failed to convince the developers in my team. They are complaining each and every time that I have removed the technical jargons and all. So the reason is, how can I advocate them in a short time?
You need to teach them that you are the technical team is not the actual users. For actual users, technical jargon means nothing.
Yes.
So tell them that if you are the users, the technical jargon is more than enough. You will be able to do it. But when it comes to actual users, ask any of these jargons and tell them to understand. Tell them that if they are able to understand, then we can go ahead with the technical jargon. But if they don't understand, then we need to simplify it. And they will obviously say that those technical jargons will never work with actual users. So
the problem is we are not validating the user manuals with the real users. The user manuals are validating with the developers in my team. So they are not satisfied with the simpler words.
Okay, so maybe you need to test it out. Maybe you can do a A/B testing. You can do an A/B testing with technical jargon, an alert with technical jargons for a given set of users, and a simplified a sentence or an alert that is easy to understand for users on the other version as B. Then throw it to random people. Maybe test it with 50 people and check the reaction. That's it. You will understand. They will understand.
Yeah, fine.
So
thank
simple.
You so much.
That's why we have the A/B testing and all that. I mean, it's all about you decide which version of the design is better. That's why we have the A/B design. It's not only about visual design. You can test anything. If you have two more options, more than one option, then you can A/B test. Even that is for an alert. Even that is for a visual design. Even that is for an interaction mode. You can test for anything. So create an alert or a notification with a lot of technical jargon as A, and create a very simple sentence that will help the users on B, and then test it with actual users on the website or on the product. Then you will get a clear idea. Even they will understand.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shiv Prasad, for taking time for us and bringing to us this interesting session. So I would like to thank each and everyone who took their valuable time from a busy day to attend this webinar. A special thanks to all the participants who actively participated in the Q&A sessions: Vandana, Shalin, Vinay, Jomon, Anirudh, and Anna. Thank you all the volunteers of IXDF team and who work the behind the scenes of making this event happen. We have only touched the tip. I know that we have a lot more questions. Till now, we were talking about how to shift the career and all. We still need to know like what after career shift your career into UX. Like after that, once you become the senior, where we have to go. So if you are interested to know more about it, just let us know. We can conduct another session on that. We are available on social media like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Clubhouse at the rate of IXDF Kerala. You can also write us idfkerala@hotmail.com. We have an exclusive IXDF Kerala community in Interaction Design Foundation website. I hope we'll meet everyone for the next session. Till that, stay safe and stay connected. Thank you.